Hey, this is Carl Schulman with Garrett's Rod Shop, and you're listening to the Gearheads and Gasoline podcast.
As a driver, when you go to businesses, you should be doing the same thing. You should be targeting the businesses that have the same kind of target audience as your followers, and because you help each other. It's not a sponsorship is not a one-way thing. And and so when you're racing, you want to target brands that align with you because you want it to be easy to make content for them.
Mhm.
And that's kind of why Kirky and me aligned so well. And you definitely, if you try to please too many people, you're not going to please anybody more than 50%. And so I see that all the time where drivers are like, yeah, I'm sponsored. I'm trying to get this business to sponsor me and this business to sponsor me. And it's like everyone that they're naming has a different target audience.
Welcome to the Gearheads and Gasoline podcast, where we dive into the high-octane world of market-leading shop owners, shop employees, and automotive enthusiasts from the aftermarket, restoration, performance, and racing industries. So strap in as we take you on an awesome journey with our guests as they share their real-life stories, lessons learned, business advice, and unfiltered insights to help you beat the school of hard knocks. Gearheads and Gasoline, fueling your success.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Gearheads and Gasoline podcast, powered by Redline Oil and AMD. I'm Barry Alt with Motorhead Digital, and joining me as my co-host today is Katie Abraham from Ironman 4x4. Today, we're excited to welcome Natalie Waters, the owner of Natalie Waters Racing, to the show. Hey, Natalie.
Hey, thank you guys for having me on today.
Yeah, we're excited to have a young racer on the show. We don't get a lot of those. So it's great that you're here. Natalie, thanks for joining us today.
Of
Yes,
course.
welcome.
Thank you.
So to jump us off here, we have a question that we always like to ask, and it's one of my favorites. But if you were a drink, what would you be?
I would have to say coffee because you get a coffee when you're out with friends or in the morning to get your day started. Like it's just always associated with something fun and something great that you're going out and doing.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Huge fan of coffee.
Yeah, I'm into water at the moment. I've done my coffee already today and need to be calm and cool and collected on the podcast so I don't move around too much. So that's awesome. Natalie, we met at the PRI show. Is that a show you go to quite a bit, or was that your first time?
That was actually my first time. I am definitely going to come back. So it was first of many, but yes, first time there was this last December.
Did you attend the Gear Up Girl event with SBN?
I did. I missed the first half of it. I was going to meet with a potential sponsor and then just got caught up talking. And so I missed the first half, but I did get in there for the second half.
Good. I'm always curious because that's a big event for us, specifically at PRI, and we're always talking about how to improve it. So I'll have to pick your brain sometime.
Okay.
Yeah, we actually met Motorhead Digital. They had I don't know what if it was PRI or if it was one of the councils, but there was a whole room reserved for businesses to talk to college students. So we got involved in that, and the students came around and chatted with us and talked about internships and in what direction they're heading in their careers. Everybody that from the college was either like Natalie you're going for marketing, but probably motorsports marketing, right? Other students were doing different things, right? So that's where we met. And I thought it was really cool to get involved in that. We don't have a huge team here. We were I signed to one gentleman about possible internship, but that didn't really pan out. But it's cool that PRI and SEMA are doing that. We're huge on youth engagement, no matter what it is in the automotive aftermarket and racing side to get younger people in. But I understand that you've been racing since you're like 6 years old. What really got you into that?
I really just grew up in the racing scene. I'm here in Salt Lake City, Utah, just outside of Salt Lake. So it's bright and early for me. But we had a racetrack out here. It actually shut down in 2018, but when I was growing up, my uncles all raced there, and my grandpa was the crew chief on like 4 different cars, and so I was just always there with him, and we were always around sprint cars, modifieds, late models, you name it. And then when we weren't there at the track, we were at the race shop, and I was always there helping him, trying to help him, more like eating all the candy in the corner. But then, as I got older, my grandpa noticed that my mom and we moved a lot. And so all my cousins were into something, whether it was cheer, dance, football. And because we moved so often, I was never able to stay with one team and do any of that. And so he got together with the racetrack with a few other guys that had kids about my age, and they proposed a quarter midget series to the racetrack. And so
Well,
that yes, so and the racetrack took it as long as they had a certain count, and I believe they had 30 cars their first race.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was pretty awesome, and so he just got me started in the quarter midgets at 6 years old, and then I raced those up until I was 12, and it's just been moving up the ranks since then.
And it's all asphalt, right?
Yes, the quarter midgets, we actually did do a little bit of dirt. The racetrack also had a dirt track over in the corner, so we'd kind of mix it up every other weekend or whatever. And but ever since the quarter midgets, I haven't done any dirt.
Yeah, we have a lot of dirt tracks around here, upstate New York, Finger Lakes area. There is asphalt track in Oswego as a
Hmm.
big
Yep.
asphalt track in New York.
Yes.
And then PA is huge with the dirt scene down there. So
mhm.
Yes, I
yeah,
am familiar with Oswego. I've never raced there, but we recently just got a super modified, and ever since I announced that, I've had a lot of people from Oswego be calling me and wanting us to haul our super modified up there.
that's a long drive to
It
race in
is.
Oswego. Would is that something you do, or would you take and plan like a whole course through the Northeast kind of thing?
So we actually just got back from Florida, and
Oh,
so
okay.
we hauled all the way down to Florida, there in Pensacola to race Five Flag Speedway for there's a new series in the sprint cars called the Race for the Million, and so it's 4 races, and the first race was there in Florida, and it was only a 1-day show. So my grandpa and my fiance drove for 3 days hauling the car, and I had tests and stuff. So I took all my tests, and then I flew in, and we practiced Thursday, raced Friday, and came home Saturday. So it was pretty crazy to go all that way for 2 days, but it was worth
How'd
it.
you
Wow.
finish? How'd you do?
We did okay. I was the 1 spot short of making the race. I barely missed the cutoff. But it was our first time at a racetrack that big. It was a half mile, and here we race on quarter miles. So it was very different to try to get used to leaving the car wide open, full throttle the whole time. And it was really a mind game over a setup game. And so it took about 3 practice rounds for me to get a handle on that. And then we also, setup wise, we had never been there before. We didn't know what gears to put in the car. And it was a brand new motor and actually a new type of chassis, a big wheelie chassis. So there's only, I believe now there's 15 that have ever been made. And none of them had been on a half mile yet, so us and the car builder were kinda trying to figure it out as well too. So we'll definitely be better next year. We've learned a ton, but yeah, we barely missed the cutoff to make the race, which was 26 cars, and I believe there was over 50 there.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So you still did really good with all those
Yes.
hurdles to get over with a different track and new car and things like that, right? So that's good.
Yes.
And double the distance. That's significant.
Yes.
People not in racing don't understand how much that is.
It is,
Was
yes, especially too because we run, 410 sprint cars, but, around here, there's not really a whole lot of sprint cars, so they mix the 360s in, and because they do that, us 410s have to run restrictors so that the 360s can compete with us, and but
what's the
this race
difference between 410 and 360s? I'm not really up on all the sprint car stuff.
just horsepower, and and build. They're, our 410s do about 900 horsepower. Well-built ones do well over 900 horsepower. And then the 360s, I've never had a 360, so to guess, I'd say around 800 horsepower, usually be about 825, 830. So about 100 horsepower difference. And they are usually built a little bit different. I know the 410s are all aluminum and take a lot more fuel, stuff like that. But yeah, so this race in Florida was 410 open motors. So that was also a learning curve because we've always ran restrictors, and so we didn't know, because we don't run carburetors in sprint cars, we control the fuel, with our
Mhm.
pills and stuff like that. And so we didn't know, if it was going to suck a lot more fuel being obviously down lower elevation from where we race up here in Idaho and Colorado, which means more fuel. Or so we had a ton of stuff that was going through our minds of what do we do with fuel, with setup, with gears, with everything. So it was definitely learned a lot to do better next year.
Mhm. Well, and it's gonna help you in your other races too now, you think, because you learned so much there, just completely different. Like, sure, you felt things and saw things where you're like, "Oh, we could actually probably do this at our home races," and
Yes.
et cetera. Very
Yes, we
cool.
definitely learned a ton just, watching other people and talking to other people. Everyone is so nice in the sprint car group, and it's really that's one thing I love about racing is it's not as much about competing as it is about helping each other. You see teams on football or whatever, and it's like, don't let them see our secrets or our plays. And then you go racing and you're like, God, I'm just really struggling, down the straightaways. And they're like, well, what pills are you running? I have a couple over here you can borrow. And it's just a huge community that goes on. And I that's one thing I really enjoy about not just the sprint car series, but racing in general.
That's great to hear because I've said the same thing about the automotive aftermarket, SEMA, PRI, everybody that I run into. It's a big family, right?
Yes.
And it makes it more enjoyable to be involved and to support the community, right? Help each other out, kind of thing, right?
Yes.
Um, did you did you see a big? Was it tough going from the quarter midgets to sprint cars? Now you're doing modifieds. Is it a big learning curve for you on that aspect?
Um, we've taken kind of some baby steps. So when I got out of quarter midgets, I went into focus midgets. And so I raced those for, I want to say 4 years. And so between ages 13 to 16, I was racing midgets, and we actually did really well in the midgets. I have 2 championships there, 2 track records, and then I raced limited wing sprint cars. So it's kind of the same thing, but with a crate motor, same build and everything like that. And so I also held the track record in a limited wing sprint car at the track we used to have out here. So then I moved up into modifieds, and we did really well in those. I won my first main event my rookie year, and so I raced modifieds for 2 years, and then finally jumped into the sprint cars 4 years ago. And we've had a couple hiccups. My grandpa always crew chiefed on sprint cars, but that was 20 years ago, so a few things had changed, and so we had to kind of play by some different rules and stuff like that. But overall, it's been a great experience, and we get better and better every year. And so I look forward to going in this year with everything we've learned previously.
Nice. Do you plan on moving into like NASCAR or anything like that in the future, or are you gonna stick with sprint cars?
Yeah, the goal is definitely to move up. I would really be happy either way if it was NASCAR or IndyCar. I have the stock car experience in the modifieds, and then I also have the open wheel stuff going on. Especially, I haven't raced the super modified yet, but we do have a super modified that we got last year, that we're looking forward to running, and that's a lot like an IndyCar the way it's set up. So I mean, either way, the goal was always NASCAR, and that's just what I grew up on. Trying to get to ARCA series has been the main thing. But then you look more at where sprint car drivers have gone on their path to NASCAR, and there's a lot of IndyCar interference. And so
Mhm.
I would really would be happy either way. racing full time is the ultimate goal. I don't really care what I'm driving.
Yep.
So I think either way would be exciting.
Very cool. Well, if you ever come by Kansas City, let me
Okay.
know. We've got a couple tracks, but uh, as you continue to advance, I'm sure you'll end up out this way.
Yes. And like one thing also is like the chili bowl. The chili bowl's been a big goal of mine. And I actually got offered a ride last year, but I was a little bit hesitant to go into the biggest dirt car race, and only have dirt experience in a quarter midget from when I was 10 years old. So I definitely, the biggest thing right now is for me to try to get some dirt car experience. But as an asphalt driver, I don't really have all those connections or anyone that I know that would let me just hop in their dirt car and get a few laps. So that's something we're going to work on this year as well too.
Nice. Eldora is a big deal too,
It
especially
is, yes.
since
Outdoor is a
you
big
hear
one.
about it, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I guess anyone watching the podcast then needs to reach out to Natalie and get her some
Yes.
rides. She'll
Yes.
come test your vehicles, I'm sure.
Yes, I'd really appreciate it.
So with that said, Katie, Natalie has a business degree in marketing. And how does your marketing background actually help you? Hey, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to Gearheads and Gasoline. We're going to take a quick break here to share a message from our sponsor, Auto Metal Direct.
Hey guys, you're watching the Gearheads and Gasoline podcast. I'm Jason with AMD. Check this out.
How does your marketing background actually help you as a driver, move forward, get sponsors, things like that?
Yeah, there's so much. I mean, I have really learned a ton about businesses in school and how to market businesses, and I never quite realized how much running Natalie Waters Racing is running a business, and how much it all correlates with. You look at like competitors and market share, like all of those big words apply to drivers specifically, and individually. And so it really has helped me find a competitive edge when I'm out, posting on social media or running my campaigns or anything like that, the way I handle my fans, and I try to be different in everything I do. And it's really paid off just using that marketing to kind of stand out and sell that unique value proposition when it comes to sponsors or fans. And so it really has helped in that way. And then it has also helped me start my Race to End Bullying Foundation. We're a nonprofit 501c3. And so what I do with that is I take the car and I go to schools, K through 12, and we have the car there to kind of get the kids listening and attract them and get involved in the motorsports. And then I use that to talk about the Race to End Bullying. And I teach kids how to be kind. I usually go with a PowerPoint presentation, ask questions, answer questions, and really just spread awareness about how big of a problem it is, especially out here in Tooele County. And I do some out of state through Zoom and stuff like that too. So I also use the marketing to help me with that. We just had our first annual golf tournament last week because we don't have any racetracks out here in Utah anymore. So I had to kind of change the dynamic there. So I do a lot with that and use the marketing with that as well. Definitely trying to get more drivers on board. That kind of helps me do that as well too.
That's awesome. Were you bullied when you were in school, or was it just something that you saw needed to be brought to the forefront for people?
I feel like it was both. I definitely wasn't bullied as much as I've seen others when I was in school or through the cases I've been studying doing this. But I think a lot of the problem for me was that people didn't really know what bullying was. I felt like a lot of people I called my friends were my biggest haters and didn't I don't know, if they just didn't realize how bad they were hurting me every day, and stuff like that. So that's one thing that I really preach to kids is a friend is not somebody that brings you down, whether if they think that it's funny, it's important that you tell them it's not. And so I definitely think it was a good mix. I've learned a lot of things to put into my presentation from my own experience, but the importance of it came from other people's experiences.
Okay, yeah. And
Mhm.
and I'm intrigued by that because I love that you're doing that. I was bullied in middle school and high school. So I've been there, done that. It sucked.
Mhm.
Um, and with social media, I think it's even worse
Mm.
today
Yes,
because
for
you have
sure.
keyboard warriors right there. I'm behind the keyboard. I can say whatever I want. And they don't realize how they're hurting other people.
I
Yes,
couldn't imagine
exactly.
being a kid these days. Like, you
Mhm.
know, uh, the aspect of having to grow up connected to people all the time. And, if you don't have a social media, then kids probably bully you if you're trying to separate. Like, there's so much more to being a kid. They grow up so much faster. But
Mhm.
the point I think you made that was really interesting, and I think I even still run into this sometimes as an adult, is oftentimes your friends can bully you without realizing it.
Mhm.
And I've been lucky enough to push people like that out of my life.
Mhm.
Um, but sometimes you don't realize it and you get that little nag in the back of your brain. And then you're like, wow, they kind of made me not feel so great by what they said,
Yes.
but I know they didn't mean it, but I should probably say something. And how many times don't we? Because we're like, oh, I don't want to, maybe they're just having a bad day. We talk ourselves out of so many things. Very, very fascinating.
Exactly. Yes.
Great work with that.
Thank you.
Kids need it.
Yeah,
Yes.
and
And
even as adults, right? Katie, Joe Zeppler, um, he posted something the other day about how he has trimmed out his friends on Facebook because he says are they're not really friends.
Mhm.
Trim out the ones that are mean, that make crappy comments and things like that, or don't even interact. They're just there. So, ultimately, most people can count all their friends on, one hand, maybe two if they're lucky. They're really. I'm saying when I say friends, real true friends,
Yep.
right? So
Yep.
not having 500 friends on Facebook really isn't. It's different. It's not what reality is, right?
Yeah.
yeah, and especially, in the racing world, going kind of where I was saying how much of a family it is. That's not everybody, right? There's a ton of bullies out there on the racetrack, whether it's on the racetrack or off the racetrack or both. I mean, we see it all the time. And I think it's especially hard. We look at series such as, like the Hornets, and I see a ton of bullying that goes on there, especially at our local racetrack where kids that are in the Hornets that'll have this great nice car or whatever, and then other kids, they scrapped a car together that they found in the junkyard just to come out and race, and to see them
Mhm.
be torn down by the other kids, or sometimes it's even the parents, and it's terrible, and they just they don't wanna race anymore because of that, and then you see it as you get bigger too. When I race modifieds, I actually had a guy, it was my very, very first time in a modified, and when the modifieds that we run, it's a big motor with really small treaded tires, and they're really, really hard to drive. It's very finicky, and I was used to the midget where you kinda just, big tires, small motor, and you just kinda throw it in the corner and mash full throttle to get out, and so I was struggling big time my first practice session in a modified, and by the time the first race came around, we were having problems with the brakes. And so, if you have too much rear brake, then the car will want to spin out when you go into the corner and touch the brake, and vice versa if you have too much front brake. And my brake bias was broken, so it had all the brake going to the rear. And no matter what I did, I could not get any brakes to go to the front. And so the first lap, I started in the back with my rookie tape, and there was a guy, I was the only rookie, and so there's this guy on my inside, and the first lap going into the first corner, I spun out. I hit the brakes and spun out, and he was just right there on my inside. So I took him with me. And as soon as we stopped, we were facing each other. And it was kind of funny because I came from the midgets and we were all best friends. We all raced quarter midgets together and everything. And so anytime one of us wrecked, we'd ask, "Are you okay?" and give a thumbs up, and they'd give a thumbs up back if everything was good. And so this guy was actually missing his middle finger, and it was cut off or something. And so when he was trying to flip me off, but he didn't have that finger, so I thought he was asking if I was okay. And so, and because all I saw was like this finger over here, I was like, "Yeah, I'm good." And he was like, and he was so mad. And so after, I'd get into the pits, and that, gosh, I was 17 at the time. I'm 5'1", 100 pounds, right? This little tiny girl standing there. And he was probably in his 40s, I would say, late 40s. And he comes stomping down to my pit,
Ugh.
and he's yelling at the guy next to me, and the guy's like, "I don't even know what you're talking about, man. We didn't even race together." And he's like, "Yeah, you the number in the number one card." And he's like, "Dude, that wasn't me. That's her." And so he was like, "Oh, okay." And he turns around and he kind of pushed everybody away and got up in my face, and he was like, "You don't need to race me like that in the back of the pack, and you I don't know why you drive like that. What you were trying to race for 10th place or whatever." And I kept trying to, explain to him, and he just kept talking over me and talking over me. And so finally my grandpa was standing right there, and he just kind of touched him and he said, "Hey, she listened to you. Now you're going to listen to her." And so I said, "Listen, I'm so sorry you happened to be there, but we had some brake issues going on. And so every time I touched them, the car wanted to spin out. It's my first race in a modified. And so I'm really sorry you happened to be there when I spun out, but I really did not mean to take you out with me." And he just stopped and said, and he pointed at me like in my chest, and he said, "If you can't race that car, then you don't belong out here." And he turned around and left.
And he
And
never started somewhere before the first time. There was never a first time for him, right? Yeah, right.
yes. So
Well, and like, what race is this? It's a local.
yes,
Uh,
it's a I mean, it's NASCAR sanctioned, so it was the NASCAR Whelen All American Series for the modifieds. But yeah, it was. Yeah, and he had driven down from, I believe, Montana on this little open trailer. And then the next race, after we got some things figured out, he came down, and I lapped him, and I think I finished like second or third. And so I wanted to walk down there and just shake his hand and say, I do belong here. But he'd packed up
yes.
and left before before we were even into the pits all the way. So, but you see it everywhere, the bullying, and in every sport, into adulthood, in childhood, with your friends. And so it's definitely our biggest goal is just to bring the awareness. And because I feel like we tell kids so many times that you're worth more, don't listen to them, but we never tell people that are the bullies to be
Mhm.
kind, or to understand that they're bullying and really see that in their own eyes. So I think that's really what we try to do.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And in your response, even, explaining that situation, you're not just telling them about the situation, but you're also representing the correct way to deal with it and the correct way to respond to bullies, and approaching them back with kindness, and uh not reacting to them, and what your grandpa did, and then your response of saying, "I'm sorry that you were there, not necessarily I'm sorry that I hit you." It wasn't purposeful. So, you have nothing to be sorry about necessarily. It was just a bad
Mhm.
situation. It was an accident.
Yeah.
Um, I fall into that trap where sometimes I apologize, and my sister does too. We're very passive. And then I'm like, I have nothing to be sorry about. It just happened. So changing that frame, but helping the kids who are being bullied to stand up for themselves in a kind way. That's
Mhm.
huge. That's a great story.
Thank you. And yeah, we also teach, I think a big thing with the kids too is they get hounded so much about bullying and bullying and bullying, and they don't understand that there's conflict that happens that's not bullying. And so that's another thing we preach as well the difference between a conflict and a bully, because we don't want kids that, have one kid one time that wants to use the marker they're using and they just take it from them and they get mad. Like that's not a bully, that's just or not a misunderstanding, but a conflict, a problem that you can work out. You can say sorry, you can be friends again. It's, and so
Mhm.
we try to hone into what is the definition of bullying, what is not bullying, what can you do, and how to feel about it, basically.
Yeah. My experience with bullying is it's repeat stuff from the
Yeah.
same person or
Mhm.
group of people. We went through that in high school. Um, so I want to shift to social media because you're on social media. And you had mentioned that you had a big jump in your numbers as far as followers. What do you relate to that? How do you feel that suddenly happened? Where you just suddenly, what did you do to get that follower count to suddenly explode?
Yeah, well, it was actually really interesting because, in my classes and stuff that we've learned how much the dynamic has changed, because we've gone from like really put together commercial like videos, like professional cameras, and that used to be the great thing that would get a bunch of views, and now we see the shift towards more home videos that are not heavily edited and just that feel real. And so once we kind of shifted to that, our videos, I had one, I've stopped using audio. I stopped putting music over the videos, and I stopped clipping videos together. And we just all of our videos started getting hundreds of thousands of views. And I have one video that got over 1.2 million views, and that one video alone, that was our first one to kind of take off, and that video got us thousands of followers. And
Awesome.
then we had another video, probably I think a month or 2 later, that did the exact same thing. I think it had like just under a million views. It was like 900,000 something, and that got another few thousand followers. And so it's just, yeah, it's just the way that's kind of been building onto each other. And then you see it, right? Like I'll post a video with music over it that's like a race day clip, right? A video of me getting into the car and cap cutted to like a video on the racetrack, and that video will get maybe 1,000 views. And then
Mhm.
you post just a video, like no audio, just the car going around the racetrack, and it's like 500,000 views. And so, it's been kind of nice for me, right? Because it takes most of the work out of it, out of this making the social media videos. But that's been the biggest thing. And I've even seen photos that have gone viral that are super simple. I took one photo. We were at Open Wheel Showdown in Las Vegas, and I made the A main out of like 70 sprint cars. Only, I believe, 24, 26 went, and we were in the A main. And so I just posted a video or a picture with like smiling with a thumbs up with the car in the background, and all the caption was we made the A main. And it got hundreds of thousands of views and like all of these likes and everything. And so it's crazy, just the way the algorithm works. And as I learn more about it, it makes more sense. But the Facebook has definitely been the launch pad for that.
You're on Instagram as well. And I know Katie and I, even our last guest that Katie was on with us, we talked a lot about being authentic, right?
Mhm.
Just being yourself, don't overproduce it,
Mhm.
things like that. Obviously having a good, even if it's just a phone, having a good camera does help because people aren't going to watch fuzzy videos, but you still have to have some of that, right? You took that, you said, and as your followers went up, you started getting extra calls from businesses. Tell us about that.
Mhm. Yeah, because I mean, businesses, they want the exposure, right, and the engagement. And so one story that's really panned out for me is Kirky. So Kirky racing seats, and I've always had a Kirky seat, mostly because they're all adjustable. You can move the head, you can move the ribs, the shoulders. And so someone as small as me, it makes it nice to be able to buy a seat that doesn't have to be custom fit or that you have to do a pour on. And so that was our reason for buying a Kirky seat, and we've had it through the midgets, the modifieds, the sprint cars, everything. And then these videos started going viral, and I actually have a 360 camera that kind of sits back behind on the bar. So you can see like front and center is the Kirky logo on the back of the seat. And so Kirky started liking all my posts and following my accounts. And then I needed a new seat for my super modified. And so then I just called them and was like, hey, this is kind of what I'm looking for. And they were like, yep, everything sounds good. We can get this seat going out for you. And I was like, yeah. And I was also wondering, I mean, you guys have been following my page and everything from Nat Attack on Facebook. I was wondering if you'd like to partner up for the 2026 season. And he's like, you know what? I have been following your page. Let me get you hooked up with our marketing director. And then it just kind of took off from there. We went and met him at PRI and worked it all out. And so now we're signed on as one of the Kirky sponsorships. And so we're running the Kirky seat in both of our sprint car and the super modified for the season. And we've also gotten a BSCI pour for the sprint car as well too. So it's been crazy how stuff like that happens. And then you mix it with going to PRI and meeting the people in person. And especially all those businesses that have started liking the posts and following, just to walk up to them. And it's really made a difference too, being at PRI, where we go to a business, and I believe it was one that did rods and Hymens, and I just walked up and he was like, well, what do you drive? And I said sprint cars. And I was just doing my little pitch of, do you help drivers out, even if we could get a discount, we're just a small racing group and we race locally, but we want to race more out of state and stuff like that. And he was like, yeah, what's your name? I introduced myself, and he's like, well, our owner is right here. Let me introduce you. And so I was like, hi. And he's like, I started to talk. I'm like, I'm Natalie. He's like, Natalie Waters, I know. And I was like,
Hi.
oh.
The Gearheads and Gasoline podcast is proudly sponsored by Redline Synthetic Oil. With a legacy of excellence and over 100 premium products, Redline provides motor oils, gear oils, assembly lubes, fuel additives, and water wetter for the automotive, racing, motorcycle, marine, and industrial markets. Known for their exceptional quality and technical expertise, Redline is trusted by enthusiasts and professionals alike. Discover their full range of products and expert support at redlineoil.com.
Redline Oil, formulated to win, proven by me.
Redline Oil, formulated to win.
Formulated to win.
Formulated to win, proven by me.
Formulated to win, proven by me.
Proven by me.
Proven by me.
Redline Oil, formulated to win, proven by me.
And he's like, I've seen your stuff on Facebook, and and every time we go to the racetrack, some of the guys, they poke some fun, and just in a funny way. We'll be standing in line to get our pit passes, and I believe I posted one video because I just wanted to see how it would do, and it was me getting ready for race day, and it was just like my makeup routine. And there was this guy that came up in the pit stand line, and he was like, what the heck was that video? And he's like, I all your stuff, you're all over my Facebook. I can't get you off my For You page or whatever and out of my feed. And he's like, and this video comes up and you're doing your makeup, and I kept waiting for it to like cut to you on the racetrack or do something. And that was the whole video. He's like, I watched the whole thing. And so they like to give me some crap on what they don't want to see and what they do want to see. So it's really been great the way the Facebook has taken off. And you talk about Instagram. We've struggled a little bit with Instagram. Just it's different algorithm. The videos that work on Facebook don't work on Instagram. So just we've spent so much time and effort learning the Facebook, and now we just need to do the same thing on Instagram. But yeah, that's definitely been a huge launch to our 2026 season, is that page taken off.
That's awesome. I've in my industry and the marketing that we do and our customers, we've found, and we even asked when I was speaking at SEMA last year, basically it's and Katie can probably attest to this. For Facebook, it's 45 to 70-year-olds that are on Facebook, maybe even 50 to 70. And everybody younger than that is on Instagram. I did a survey of all the kids that are in our
Yeah.
room. There was a number of them, and they said, we're only on Facebook for Facebook Marketplace. So are you seeing younger people on your Facebook feed, or is more established racers and people like that are in there, between 45 and 70?
Yes, I would say probably 80% of our followers are between 45 and 70. It doesn't give me a number for the other ages. Like it just says 80% are here, this age range, and it breaks it up in those age groups. And then it's like the rest of your followers are under 44. Like it doesn't even break it down because there's so little. And so that's
Okay, so that validates. The reason I asked that is 'cause I wanted to see if it was the same for you as it was for us, and it is for our restoration shops and things like that. It's interesting you say that about getting sponsors, and that you did the sports marketing, the marketing degree, and that you want to help drivers get sponsorship. If you want to ever talk to somebody, reach out to my last co-host, Nat Bauer, because we've had numerous conversations on this podcast about, um, you know, people think that, oh, I'll just stick a sticker on my car and you can sponsor us. It doesn't work that way anymore. You did a lot of things ahead of time for Kirky, just mentioning them, things like that. So you brought a ton of value before you even went to them for support. And that's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah, for sure. And I also work for the quarter midget series that I came from. They now race. We have a Utah Motorsports Park out here, but they all they do is road course stuff. So we don't race there, but they let the kids kind of set up some cones and run races in the big parking lot. And so I worked for them and try to help them get sponsors. And that was a huge thing that I have been explaining to them, is that you can't just sell your logo, because you have to have a reason why they should do it. It's not like, why should they sponsor you instead of the football team, or
Yeah.
like anything like that. You have to have a difference. You have to have an ROI to give them. And so before we ever approached sponsors, when I started working for them, we worked on building the social media page, because they don't get a whole lot of fans that come out and watch the races. It's mostly just the kids' parents and siblings. And so that's not going to be our unique value proposition, and so I told them we really needed to work on the awareness in the community. And so I had them join all of the county Facebook pages and just kind of post about like the schedule, what they do, what the ages are, that sort of stuff. And it was amazing to see how many people had never even heard of them and had no idea that they were even in Twilla. And so we worked on building that fan base up. We gained, I think we've gained about 200 followers in the last few months. And that's
Fun.
really helped to kind of show, especially in the Twilla County, because we're really targeting local businesses that want to be involved in the community. And when they see that the majority of the followers are race car drivers from Idaho, it's not very appealing. So it's definitely starts from the ground up. You can't just walk into a business and say, here's my race car, we're selling this panel if you'd like to be on that panel for $1,000 or whatever it is. That's not sponsorship. That's not how they work these days. It's wearing their hats when you're doing interviews. It's wearing
Yep.
their t-shirts and all of that, like you were saying, is before you go to them, because you want them to notice you and want you before you just walk in and are trying to prove that you're somebody that's different than everybody else has walked in and asked for sponsorship.
Yeah. Putting down money too, buying products from them before you even approach them. So you've
Yes.
got an investment in that company before. And then when they are sponsoring you, bring that value, right?
Mhm.
Do everything you can to put them out in front. I mean, even this podcast, you notice we mentioned when we first started, right? Things like that.
Yep.
Did you, what actual content actually moves the needles for your sponsors?
I would say definitely the content that doesn't feel like it's an ad. It's especially for Kirky, they're really big on that authenticity and sportsmanship, stuff like that. So the videos that have really helped there have been the GoPro videos. I have one that faces me in the car, so we can kind of see, what's going on, because when you're racing, you don't think about anything. You just do. And so when we're racing and my grandpa, he's like, "Are you sawing the wheel? Are you doing this? Are you doing that?" I'm like, I don't know. So we've put a camera in the car. And so that camera is on the other side of the seat of the Kirky seat, so you can see the logo and everything. And we really just associate their brand with what we do. And so I have videos that I've posted with them of me and my grandpa talking after the races. Before I ever get out of the car, as soon as I stop, he comes over to the door and he's like, "So how did that feel? What's the car doing?" And we'll talk about it. Or if it's after a race, those are like my favorite ones. I watch him all the time because he'll come over just all so excited, and he's like, "That pass you did in turn one, that was so cool." And he was up here, and then I'll explain, some parts of it. Or other drivers will run up and say good job and congrats or good luck before I go out. And so all of those videos that have the Kirky seat in there and talking to them has been, that's really what caught their attention. That's what we were doing before, and that was what was landing on their For You page just because of the Kirky logo on there. And for them to build their brand image with associating their brand with those interactions has been huge.
Yep. You said the key points there. I've been lucky enough to come from both sides of looking for sponsors and then also being a company that people ask for sponsorship 20, 40, however many times a day. And the immediate first disqualifier is your audience doesn't match the audience I'm trying to reach. So you created the audience that these people are looking for, but then you took the time to understand that, identify that you match that audience for Kirky, and then you connected it together through content is going to hit. So, I mean, half the people that reach out to us, we focus on Toyota brands as our primary audience. They reach out with not that vehicle. And so I'm like, you're pretty much automatically disqualified, unfortunately, because I can't pay everybody to do these things. So, connecting your audience through to you and making it personal, huge, huge for that. So you doing the legwork is what every sponsor wants.
Yeah.
Someone reached out to us and they had our old logo on their proposal deck. And I was like, that's like 4 years old, man.
Paying attention.
So you didn't do your legwork. So all that to say, sponsorship takes effort and attention to detail, and you did that and have been successful with it.
Yes. And another big thing too, kind of what you were saying about them not coming to you with what the target audience you guys are looking for. You, as a driver, when you go to businesses, you should be doing the same thing. You should be targeting the businesses that have the same kind of target audience as your followers, and because you help each other. It's not, a sponsorship is not a one-way thing. And so when you're racing, you want to target brands that align with you because you want it to be easy to make content for them. And that's kind of why Kirky and me align so well. And you definitely, if you try to please too many people, you're not going to please anybody more than 50%. And so I see that all the time where drivers are like, "Yeah, I'm sponsored. I'm trying to get this business to sponsor me and this business to sponsor me." And it's like everyone that they're naming has a different target audience. And so they're way too broad. If they narrowed it in and just focused maybe on outdoor stuff, if they're like, I'm an avid hunter and post all the time about going fishing and stuff like that. And if I wanted to target those brands, I would do that. But I can't go target the outdoors and then target like a luxury brand or anything like that. You know what I mean? So I see drivers go too broad too many times, and that narrow target audience and aligning, it's not just going to work for the sponsor, but it's going to work out for you in the end too.
Yeah. And even what you said earlier about, racers being in Idaho and not being in the right location. Location means so much. And I don't know how many times people don't look at their local communities to seek out sponsorships just simply for visibility. Some businesses just want more eyeballs,
Mhm.
regardless of the audience, but they want it in a specific location. So, um, you know, specifically for the midgets that you're working with, like you targeted the right location, and all of that. So very well thought out strategy on your part. People watching this could definitely pick up some key skills from you.
Well, thank you.
Mhm.
But I mean, like what you were saying, it does get hard for like drivers like me when we were racing midgets and we were a lot smaller and we weren't traveling as much, didn't have the follower count, any of that. It was really, really hard to get sponsors, especially because like you're saying, we're from Utah, so we want to target our community, but we're racing in Idaho. So all of our fans and everywhere they see the logo would be in Idaho. But then the people in Idaho, you go to businesses and 90% of the drivers are from Idaho and sponsor their drivers. and so that was a huge, huge dilemma we were facing is you go to Utah drivers and they say no, because I don't have clientele in Idaho. That's not going to help me. But then you go to the Idaho and they say we'd rather support our local drivers. Sorry. And so it definitely gets hard. And that's where I was saying you have to start from the bottom up. So we took a few steps back and worked on the social media, and now that allows us to target more brands than that are just located here in Tooele, or more brands than are just located in Meridian, Idaho, because of that social media following, and that increases our engagement, that increases everything geographically as well too.
And the other things that you're involved in. That's something
Mhm.
that a lot of people don't leverage. Even when looking for employment, they won't have a portfolio that outlines all of the different things that they're involved in outside of their 9 to 5 that can really amplify everything that they're doing. So being able to have, yes, you're racing and all of that, but your involvement with now working for the local midget uh, organization and the track, and that cross visibility that you have, and also for the next generation. So like so much value comes from that other piece too. And I don't know how many times that gets put to the wayside until you have a conversation and you're like, well, what else do you do? Do you go hunting? So now you have a tap into the hunting community who crosses over very much with racing and outdoors and all of that. It's funny how people attracted to racing and automotive are really a massive community when you start branching into the extracurricular
Yeah.
pieces that they tap into. We had a local Kansas City tow company sponsor us for our last rally that we competed in this year, because they were looking to tap into more women and emphasizing that they uh, make sure that their tow truck drivers are very accommodating to women and making them feel comfortable. So I'm like, that was a perfect fit for us. And they weren't able to do much, but every dollar counts when you're
Yes.
trying to get to the start
Every little
line,
bit helps. Yes. Yes.
especially cash.
Yeah, cash
Like,
is
give me
king for
cash.
sure.
I don't need more products.
Yes. Yes.
So Natalie, you said you had mentioned that your goal is to help drivers with their sponsorship. Are you planning to go work for a company or start your own business, marketing business, things like that?
Right now, either way. I mean, I have been taking clients for the last few years, and it's definitely going to help now that I don't have to balance it with school and my regular job and my racing and my foundation. So, I definitely have been helping a ton of people do a little. I've kind of given advice on social media, but not really ran their social medias. And I do sponsorship packets. Right now I have about 7 people that I build sponsorship packets for every year. But I really like to grow that. But I really like to do that on the side of a regular job, just until, I can kind of get going on something. And it really just kind of plays with my racing. What's really hard is to find a job in motorsports that also lets you have your race weekends off. So, it kind of battles against each other. And so I'm really trying to find a job right now, a full-time job, to work in motorsports marketing, whether that's helping other drivers, teams, or events. I have interned for Chili Bowl and done stuff like that. So right now that's kind of the plan. But yeah, just hard trying to find something that'll work with the race schedule, even though right now we're only racing about 10 times a year from April to September.
I know a couple people that graduated, young ladies actually, that graduated from marketing and went to work for, one worked for Don Schumacher drag racing team for quite a while, right? And it was the marketing side or the hospitality side. They spent a lot of time there and learned a lot. I think one of the things that they do get burned out after a while because there's a lot of travel, right? That's one thing to consider, but they learned a lot getting involved with those teams. So there's other opportunities. I mean, as much as the sprint car thing is your place, there's always opportunities, other race teams, other sanctioning bodies, things like that, right?
Yes. And my fiance and I have talked about it, and we're looking to move to either North Carolina, Indianapolis, or Daytona, Florida. So we've kind of made a plan the end of the year or whenever I can get a full-time job. And my grandpa's retired, and we keep our cars here at the house. So he's all in. He said, "You just let me know where you want to race and I'll get the car ready and you can fly and meet me there." So we're really excited.
Yeah, what Brownsburg, Indiana is the drag racing capital of Indiana, I think, and then you got all the IndyCar teams and stuff in
And
Indiana, and obviously
Indianapolis. Oh, sorry.
Indianapolis.
And
Yeah,
Indiana, cost of living, much better than
Yes.
all those. Oh, yeah. That's why I stay in Kansas City, because the cost of living out here is just, I mean, it's so affordable. It allows me to be able to go and travel, and we're in the center of the country. So, you know, going either way isn't terrible. Um, but moving closer to Indianapolis would definitely open up a lot of opportunities. I do run into challenges if there are people that reach out. They're like, "Would you be willing to relocate here?" And I'm like, no, I'm staying here." Uh,
remind us where you are. You're in Kansas, right?
yeah, I'm on the western side of Kansas City in one of the suburbs. So it's actually Shawnee, Kansas. But I'm, 25 minutes from.
Today's podcast is sponsored by Motorhead Digital. Motorhead Digital are digital marketing experts for your automotive aftermarket, restoration, performance, race, and restyling shop. They help you supercharge your shop's website, social media, and entire online presence to attract those badass customers you're looking for. Check us out at motorheaddigital.com.
The Kansas City airport. So it's no big thing, but being able to relocate would be huge. I vote for Indiana for cost of living purposes, because that is a huge thing for a lot of my friends right now. They live in areas where they're making really great money, and they can hardly travel to push their dreams because they don't have enough extra cash to do it. And I actually am very much living right now what you're talking about. So I work my 9 to 5 in aftermarket 4x4, but then I have my own company teaching 4-wheel drive, driving, co-driving, recovery, all of that. But then now we'll be racing rallycross with a local company who buys
you're doing rallycross?
product. Yeah, I just got picked up as a driver.
Nice.
It's small, but it's still fun. We're going to be in this shitty little Toyota. It's going to be great. I can't wait.
Hey,
But it's local, so I can
right?
do it on top of everything else. So like even today, I'm leaving to drive down to Texas to go teach. But it overlaps with my job, but I don't get paid as much right now because I stayed with a company who's open to me doing these things because it overlaps with the same audience. So all that to say, you definitely have the right idea of finding a company that allows you to have that balance, and it does exist. But I started with a different company who just had really good PTO so that I could just take time off to do the things, and then eventually found this company who gives me flexibility. So, um, keep fighting the fight because it's there. It just requires definitely some investment, uh, to make it happen. But doing these podcasts, getting involved, you should definitely come get involved with SEMA if you're not already, because that has led to a lot of new contracts for me this year for my my
Okay.
business, my personal business. But now, like the thing with the full-time job, I'm rambling a little bit, but I have great health insurance. I don't
Mhm.
have to worry about my business being constantly successful for my sole income for my life. Like, people tell me I should go full time with my company, and I'm like, that's a
Yeah.
lot. It's
I can
24/7,
tell you,
65
24
commitment.
you're on it. Yeah, I'm doing that for what, almost 30 years now. I can tell you, you got to be ready to deal with all that stuff.
Yeah, I like being able to be like, "You know what? Today, I am just going to turn off my phone and disconnect completely," or like, uh, the gig this weekend, I'm teaching for 1 day of it, but then I'm gonna stay for 2 additional days just to go run trails with a bunch of gals from all over the country down in the Palo Duro Canyon. So, like, it gives me the balance I look for. So, for other people watching too, just figure out what your balance looks like and build it, but it might take some investment.
Yeah,
Yes.
starting a business is, I've had people say to me, must be nice to own your own business. You get to take time off and do whatever. No, it doesn't work that way. To be successful, you're on all the time. I'm an actual competitive shooter, and the only time I can turn off business stuff is when I'm shooting, because it's,
Really?
yeah, seriously. When I'm shooting a match, I'm hardly ever on my phone. I'm not thinking about work. I'm not thinking about clients because there's a safety factor there, right? And plus you're looking at the stages, trying to figure out how you're going to run the stage and stuff like that. It I can't believe it, but it's the only thing that I do that I can just turn off everything else. And so being able to, I mean, that was my choice, right? I worked for a software company for a couple of years, but we were working 80 hours a week. So it was a startup. But I have a team member working for me that gets their job done, their regular job, and then they work for us, and everything's cool. So if you can find a balance like that, sometimes it's better, especially if you get healthcare. We're also paying for healthcare. So
Mhm.
you have all that stuff, Natalie. So I think that's something you got to consider. If you want to be your own boss, I can say you're never your own boss. If a business owner says I'm my own boss, no, you got, how many customers do you have?
Yeah.
Mhm.
you know? So anyways, Natalie, this has been fun. We're glad you reminded me that I talked to you at PRI about being on the podcast. I do want, we have a speed round here. So I want to do a speed round. I 4 questions. What's your favorite driver or team, hot rod, muscle car, or truck?
I don't know. I don't watch it all that often. I I don't know. I can't answer that one.
You don't have a favorite driver that you kind of
Favorite
watch?
a favorite driver
It's one or the other. You don't have to answer all those.
um I really only keep up a ton with NASCAR. So I mean my favorite driver right now would be probably Chase Elliott, but I used to be a huge fan of Tony Stewart. I don't watch him quite as often anymore, but Tony Stewart was a big one for me.
Hey, got to go watch him run a top fuel car, man.
Yes, yeah, I watch the top well, every once in a while I watch it on the TV, but yeah, I definitely need to keep up on it a little more.
Cool. Okay. What's your favorite tool in your toolbox?
Crescent wrench. I just adjust that and I don't have to find anything else.
Yep.
There you go. One tool does it all.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite racetrack, automotive event, or car show?
Favorite racetrack would have to be the one we had out here. I mean, it's closed now, but it closed in 2018. But RMR Rocky Mountain Raceways was like the nicest facility I've ever been to. Like we go to races in California, Idaho, Vegas, and it's like nothing has ever compared.
Why did it close? I wanted to ask you that earlier. Was it shut? Did they shut it down, or did the owners just retire or something?
So it is right in the heart of the city, and it was an oval on one side, and so the stands kind of went in a V. So on this side was the oval racetrack, and then this side was the drag side. And so they would do nights where they'd race both sides, so fans could like watch the oval races and then walk over to the other side and watch the drags, and it was like huge. But they started getting so many complaints from the city about the noise, especially the midnight drags. And so they were just like fighting, and then eventually the owner was offered a ton of money to sell, and he just got tired of fighting and was looking to retire, so he sold, and they tore it down to build warehouses. And
We've seen that a lot. A lot of tracks have
yeah.
gone to real estate, have gone to warehouses or data centers. It's sad. I mean, SEMA action is big on is it right to race? There's a name for it, but they're working to work with states to get laws passed that said, if this track was here before you were, the track, you can't just come in and say, we don't like this because you didn't do your homework and move near a track.
Yes,
Sorry.
In Kansas. Woo.
Yeah, is it Kansas the one that just passed that law?
Yep.
That's
They
close.
just passed it, and I was like, hallelujah.
Yes,
Yeah.
they actually, Meridian Speedway, where we normally run up in Idaho, they just made that track a historical landmark, so
Awesome.
it can't be torn down. So that was really cool. We went to a big thing for it, so it's now a historical place, so they can't be touched.
That's huge. And we have the same problem with gun clubs and things like that, right? Our specific gun club that I shoot at, competition at a lot, has a neighbor that harasses us all the time, flies drones over, just stupid stuff he's doing. And it's like, this club's been here for way longer than you have, you know? So it's a struggle for racing and gun clubs. Last question. What's the best advice you've ever had, and from whom?
Gosh, so many drivers. I would have to say it came from multiple drivers. I mean, Cody Swanson, Aaron Willison, just all those big asphalt sprint car drivers, just about the trust. Sprint cars are about trust. And so many of them have told me, you just have to pretend you're not in the car, almost kind of a thing. Like when you go into that corner and you see God, you count to 3 and then you lift. And so that's been, I think that was what helped me a lot. They're like, just do it one time. We can fix the car if it doesn't work. We'll pitch in. Just do it one time and see what happens. And that's been a big trust moment for me. That was probably the bravest I had to be, to throw that car at 150 miles an hour into the corner and trust that it's going to stick. And it worked. And so that was when we started doing a lot better. In Pink Lady, I qualified in the top 5, and that's a big race up here in Meridian, Idaho. And that was the advice that took me to the next level.
Nice. That reminds me, my wife bought me Richard Petty driving school at Richmond years ago, and it was 8 laps, right? A couple things, 8 laps. And that's all? Well, Richmond's a small track, right? And that year, my average in those 8 laps was 96 miles an hour, right? I would have been over 100, but I got a little squirrely coming out of one of the corners. And what was interesting to me, because I never driven a NASCAR before, right? And the way they do that is you have to follow another car. And as you're going, if you keep up with them, they'll go faster, right? And what was interesting is that year, Jeff Gordon put his car in the pole at 124.
Ugh.
And I was like, holy crap, I almost broke 108 laps. I thought that was pretty damn good. And and I'm sure the car wasn't as set up as good as his was.
Yeah.
And then the ultimate thing, if anybody says, even sprint car racers that said people that drive race cars are not athletes, I will tell you, I was hurting the next day. Just 8 laps in that car, strapped in, I was hurting because you're using muscles that you never used before. And that's why you have to be fit and keep up on your, exercise and things like that. But yeah, I even though I haven't raced as a career like you're doing, I get really annoyed by people. It's these drivers aren't athletes. Go, yeah,
Yes.
no. But anyways, Natalie, thanks for joining us today. It's been great. Can you tell us how people can connect with you, follow you online, things like that?
Yeah. To follow us, we on Facebook, we are Nat Attack, just one word, capital N, and then the A in attack is capitalized. And then on Instagram, it is natattack_racing_1, the number 1. And then we're also on YouTube, though we don't post a whole lot on there. It's just Nat Attack Waters. You can also reach out to me via email. I'm always open to connect. Natalie Water, so no S on Waters, 2004@gmail.com. And if you would like to learn more about the Race to End Bullying Foundation, you can go to www.racetoendbullying.com.
Nice. If there's any business out there that want to get some sponsorship, Natalie's always looking for more support, I'm sure.
Yes, we actually just lost our title sponsor that we've had for 10 years this year. So we're looking for a title sponsor currently.
Well, good luck. I'm sure you'll snag somebody very soon.
I'm hoping so.
Cool. Well, Katie, thanks again for joining me today. Thanks for everyone for listening to this podcast where we're Gearheads and Gasoline, where we're feeling your success.
We know you don't want to miss an episode, so don't forget to smash that bell so that you get notified of every new episode. Click that like button, leave us a comment, and share with your people. And visit us repeatedly. We love it.